was metrics and analytics for evaluating success. So was counts. Your boss or let's say you're working with a company, the brand goals or the business goals is like, hey, oh my god, please don't tell me I've not been speaking. Ay ay ay. Hello?
I hear you. It's clear.
Okay, it's clear. Okay. Thank God.
Yeah.
Okay. So as I was saying, this quotes really, like I really align with these quotes because as community managers, if you are working for a company, for instance, the brand goal is like A, and then the community goal is like Z, and then how to find in between, how to communicate that with the brand and with the community members is like, 1, 2, 3. So it's like really a very difficult task as community managers to be able to align, what your brand goal is, what your member goal is, and creating the analytics and creating the data that comes out of it. So why measure community success? This is basic. Like everybody knows this, right? One, you want to enhance decision-making processes. What this means is you want to ensure that when you're making decision as a community manager, you're making the right decisions, right? You're ensuring that you're you're making data-driven decisions. One thing that we take very seriously at Ingressive for Good, for instance, is we call ourselves a data-driven company. And what that means is that we collect data, we analyze data, and we ensure that we use the analysis that we get from there, the insights that we get from there to make decisions. And that's why one of those things that makes the community successful. It helps you to prioritize resources. It helps you to know, okay, if your budget, for instance, if your budget is very limited for your company, you know where exactly the budget or the resources should go compared to others. Number two, you identify areas for improvement. It allows you to know where you're weak at, where you're strong at, places. Three, a lot of people are like into collecting and analyzing data, but generally, of course, you have your KPIs, you have your relevant metrics, and you can also ask you get to evaluate it, you get to know that, oh, John, stakeholders. And stakeholders are a lot, right? Stakeholders are the most important parts or the most important people for us as community managers. When we talk about stakeholders, we are talking about the brands involved. We're talking about the owners of the brand. We're talking about the community members. We're talking about people that our partners, our sponsors. So being able to demonstrate these values to them is super important. And value is different for brand. It's different for community members. What is important to the owner of the brand is different from what is important to the community members. So again, data is important. And then finally, benchmarking and setting goals. So this is where you get to benchmark against industry standards. You get to benchmark against your competitors. Again, as much as we say that, yeah, community is for everyone, community is open, we are nice, we are doing kumbaya and all that, we still have competitors. We still have what we call industry standards. So being able to compare and then knowing that, oh, we are doing well compared to others or we are doing below par, is very, very important. This helps us, continuous improvement, striving for excellence, and all that. So I'm going to pause here and let me see if this has been going nice. High pressures, let me know.
We can still hear you. We can still
Okay,
hear.
perfect, awesome. It's important to check in between because internet can be very funny. So we're going further. This is a quote by Stephen Few. Numbers have an important story to tell. They rely on us to give them a clear and convincing voice. Again, data they boring, normal, but a way to make data interesting is for you to give them a story, is for you to tell that story to people. A lot of the data or a lot of the analysis that you'll be doing, you'll be running data, you'll be running numbers, you'll be running, just weird stuff on platforms. But for people to be able to understand, you need to be able to tell a story with it. You need to be able to give them a clear voice, a convincing voice. By leveraging metrics and analytics, community managers can foster a thriving and successful community environment. Yada yada yada. As normal, don't mind me. But this is again important. You want to again, a community manager would always want to ensure that their community is successful. The environment of that community is thriving. Like that keyword thriving relies a lot on metrics, relies a lot on analytics. It can't be all on vibes and inshallah. There's so much vibes and inshallah that will continue to go on. But being able to know that last year our community member growth was like say 50, this year is like 200, that means you grew by 150%. Like imagine you go on Twitter and you're like, in less than a year alone, our community members, our community growth our community grew by 150%. As a smart community manager that I am, these are the things that I did. You yourself going to be flying. People will be able to know that yes, you're taking it seriously, you're doing the right thing. All right, so this is the next part, types of community metrics. So now we're going to the most boring part. One, the quantitative metrics. We have the qualitative metrics and then the hybrid metrics. Don't forget the first quotes that we read, right? Where we said that there's some things that are counted but shouldn't. Okay, I've forgotten. Let's go back. Very important. Sorry. So not everything that can be counted counts, and not everything that counts can be counted. Don't worry. By the time you're looking at metrics, you figure it out, and you just see that there are some things that are not just necessarily, but they're there, but it's just not necessarily. It doesn't count. It doesn't matter. So these are some examples of quantitative metrics. One, your user count. So again, everybody measures this. How many people? How many members do you have in your community? How many total registered members do you have in your community? I also would like to tell you that it's like very, very important that your data is as accurate as possible. For instance, you have 200 people that registered, like you have their email, again, depending on what you call registration, but opt-in, right? As a community manager, that opt-in is very, very, very important. So registration in terms of total number of registered users, let's say you have 200, but then on your platform you have like 500 people. Technically, the number of community members that you have is 200, right? So again, you also want probably still, again, numbers are important. You can still tell a better story with it and say things like, oh, the number of community registered have at or not community members 500 and your potential audience, right? So what that means is that for instance 500 members that you have on your platform, that could be your community reach, right? So you can say the total number of registered users in my community 200, my total community reach 500. So that means that your potential audience could even be double of that, because again, I don't know if you're catching up with me. Number two, active members. Now, active members is different from user account. Active members are, the percent of users who regularly participate and engage within the community. But say 20%. Again, depending on the platform they're using. Let's say engagement level is 20%. Your retention rate is say 15%. So that helps you to know that the active members or the active number of people that are in your community are tying to that level of engagement. They're tying to that retention rate. So if you now want to be better, you want to get more active members, you start to target the retended members. Hey, is that a good English? But you start to target the members that are that are coming back and coming back. You start to target the members that are actually engaging and seeing exactly why are they engaging, why are they still a part of my community, and use that to go back to create engagement and engagement strategy and content strategy for your community. Now see how you've used data, you've used metrics to make decision. Number three, engagement rates. So again, everybody knows this. How many people posted on your community platform, how many comments, how many likes, how many shares, time spent on the platform. High engagement rates suggest a vibrant and active community. Again, a lot of people focuses on user count, active member. These are major metrics that community managers focus on in terms of quantitative. But again, there are a lot more. So just like go ahead and Google to check out, a lot more quantitative metrics that are out there. Then qualitative metrics. So this is different from quantitative. Quantitative is what you can count. Qualitative is what you can't count, essentially. Qualitative metrics, we have user satisfaction. So this helps you to know how people are, the level of satisfaction that people are getting from what you do, overall experience. So you do things like surveys, feedback forms, and it helps you to know exactly how you should improve. For instance, one of those things that we started doing back in, is it 2022 or 2021? I know we didn't start in 2020, but we started doing this survey that is not just community centric, like the overall community, but that are like the mini community. So at i4G, we have like mini communities, the mini education communities where, for instance, 1,000 women in data, 1,000 women in design, or the i4G marketing community. These are people that are learning a particular skill, right? So then what we now do is, we do a post-program survey that helps us to we track quantitative metrics. We also track qualitative metrics. So we ask specific questions like how was the metric. We have asked like specific questions that helps us to know how satisfied are you with the course, or how satisfied are you with the events that we do in the program. So this kind of like specific feedback. I see how people start gushing. Oh, I even ask questions like, what was your overall experience, or what was the best part for you? What was the worst part for you? During the program, and then people are able to open up their hearts as much as possible. During the survey. The feedback, capturing feedback from community members, forums, direct messages. I know a lot of community managers, well, especially me, when you're managing a community of almost 300,000 people, you tend to start saying, do not inbox the admins, do not send DMs to the admins, no DMs to the, but I would advise, if you're managing smaller communities, encourage DMs, because that's where you see people giving you feedback that you wouldn't have even expected, concerns, major issues that might have skipped your, attention, or people that are really, really shy. But for us, we try to tell them to send emails instead, because imagine 50 people messaging you every single hour. It can be really difficult to respond to them. But again, feedback is, another qualitative metrics. Over time, it depends on how important these metrics are to you. But being able to track them maybe on a Google Sheet and collecting those feedbacks and just tagging them. Maybe for instance, 20 people DM'd you in a week, and some of their concerns are like top 3 concerns. By the time you summarize them, top 3 concerns are, oh, we don't like the speaker, oh, we don't like blah blah blah, or we don't like when our event time is, can it be another time? By the time you collect all those 20 feedback and you're able to summarize them into maybe the top 3 or top 5, you know exactly how to improve. Then finally, sentiment analysis. So this again is still very, very all similar, but sentiment is very specific to overall mood and perception of the community. It's important to gauge, the emotional connection or the sentiment that people have to the community. I know, for instance, I4G has even gone over like still wanting to calculate the sentiment, but we still do it, every quarter. We do quarterly surveys that helps us to also track sentiments. But sentiment helps you to know what kind of things people are saying about you outside. I know over time people have saying so much nice things about I4G that, you know what I'm saying? But you also want to ensure that things are not slipping through the cracks. You want to ensure that the type of perception that people are having is on a spectrum. People are happy or are joyous, or people are proud. So there's just that mood, like what's that mood and perception that you're trying to, tackle and ensure that people are having. Then the final one, hybrid. So hybrid is basically quantitative plus qualitative. The most popular one is the NPS, your Net Promoter Score. This one's to help you to measure the loyalty of your community members. So this helps you to know how likely they are how likely they are to recommend the community to others. We track it during our application process. We also track it during our post-program survey as well. So, for instance, we ask in the application process, how did you hear about this scholarship? Because we give a lot of educative scholarships. So from those responses, we see how many people are from social media. We see how many people are from referrals. The higher the number of referrals per program, the higher the NPS for us, basically. The higher the loyalty as well. And then we also asked during the post-program survey, would you recommend I4G or I4G scholarship to a friend? The amount of yes versus no helps us to know, NPS. Then community health index. This is just general as well. So again, a lot of hybrid metrics combines quantitative and qualitative, engagement rates, active members. Like by the time you calculate all of them together, and you're able to say, okay, these are the different factors to help us to know what our community health index is. And keep in mind what works for community A and not necessarily work for community B. I'll pause there. Let me know if I can pause. Any questions? I feel like I've been talking too much.
How come people don't have questions? Please do well to ask Hanifa your questions.
I mean, it's fine if there are no questions. I can continue. It just helps us to move a lot faster. Like I said, this is just one part of 2 parts. So I just want to make sure that people are listening. So if you have questions, give me emoji or anything. Let me be excited. Okay, thank you. Oh, thank you guys. I'm trying not to make it as boring because again, data is boring. No man, no man. Okay, Omar Mustafa, you have your hands raised. I thought Omar had a question.
Hi, hi, Anifa. I think there are some questions on the comment sections.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, Omar. Okay, Precious. Are there tools that you use to measure this metrics and on what platform? Okay, we'll get there. We'll get to tools, but we won't finish tools today because yeah, there's a lot. But we'll get to tools. I'll get there. Thank you for that question. All right, so let me just continue then. Again, this is another quote. I don't know why I put a lot of quotes in this, but Galileo said, "Measure what is measurable, and make measurable what is not so." And I think this is really um is this is really insightful into our next topic or our next part of what we're going to talk what we're going to talk about. And also this also helps if you have this in mind to effectively communicate. Imagine there's no tool to measure it. How do you figure out how do you figure out how to make it measurable? How do you figure out how to communicate that? There's KPIs in the I'm sure, but these are to community be. So feast your eyes on this. Where does your community fall under? If you're, and again, keep in mind your community can be a combined community, can be a community of product and practice, or a community of practice and interest, right? So what your member goals are, what your business goals are, sometimes they don't even align. Right? Sometimes they don't even, again, remember can be A, A, B. And so it's like steps to linking the goals to KPI.
Only one. So we all cannot hear her. All right. I guess she's having network issues. She'll probably join back in. I think she's off all at the moment. But yeah, hope we've been getting value all this while. Hope you can now track your community metrics analytics. Learned a lot from all Hanifa has been saying to us this evening. Let me know if you've learned something. You could just something that you know Hanifa has said so far that has spoken to you guys, just drop it to the chat or just submit yourself and speak to us. Something that you know that you're taking home from the session. Maybe one of the questions she has dropped or one of the metrics she has asked us to track. Please let us know. Who wants to share? Who wants to go ahead and share first? Or any challenges, we can also discuss it, because I think all of us here are community managers and we've all struggled with calculating analytics and metrics at different touch points. I think I struggled with that too. So, you know, I saw Slack and a couple of other metrics I've been using to track it. So let's hear your opinions, everyone. Who has something to say or who has something to share? Maybe when Hanifa just comes back, she'll probably explain better to us. Community manager, submit
Hi.
yourself. Oh, Hanifa is back. Thank you. You can
Hi guys, can you
continue.
guys
I
hear
guess
me?
your network actually. Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So as I was saying, yeah, it can be it can be quite difficult to create KPIs that, you know, connect to your community goals. And I also know that a lot of people find it hard to kind of understand what community goals are and what KPIs are, like being able to separate both of them. So I'm going to try to explain a little bit and let me know if you understand or if that's clear. So one to kind of like defining KPIs generally or linking KPIs to community goals. Number one is to define your goals and objectives for your community. So being able to clearly set goals or establish goals that are smart, obviously, you know, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. Ensure that these goals are, you know, set together with your team, with your stakeholders, so that everybody is aligned. An example of these goals could be that you want to increase user engagement, or you want to foster knowledge sharing, or you want to drive adoption. Again, remember, you know, some of these goals that are here. Let's read out some goals: answer support question, provide products feedback, some business goals: reduce support costs, drive thoughts leadership, find ideal customers, build brand trust. So these are all goals, right? These are all you know, different goals. And one advice that I would give for free is that you should stick to just 3 goals per quarter or per time. It's very important that you stick to just very few goals so that you are able to measure them effectively. Number 2, or the step B, is to identify relevant KPIs. So now that you know what those goals are, you need to select KPIs that align with the community goals and objectives. So I did this table, but before I go into the table, I want to talk about target and benchmarks. So so for setting target and benchmarks for each KPI, these are like things that that are based on industry standards or are based on just the company, on what has been happening before you set these goals. It helps you to kind of, you know, monitor progress, know where you're coming from and where you're going to. So another example of setting target and benchmark can be that let's say you're starting a new community, you probably use industry standards, a product community that has members up to 300, let's say 300, and other community members, or sorry, other community within that industry has, you know, members around between 300 to 500. So that means your target or your benchmark would probably be, you know, between 300 to 500. But for a community that you've already built your community, you've already, maybe you're not starting afresh, you're you know, setting new goals. You set these goals based on historical data. So what that means is that last year our data was this year we're going to benchmark, we want to grow by 100% or whatever percent. So that's what setting target and benchmark mean. So this is a table, this is an example. So the goal here is to increase user engagement. The KPI that fits to that goal can be one, active members. Don't forget, this is different from total number of members, right? This is different from total number of communities. This is active members. It's very specific. Now the target is you want to increase by 1.5 by the end of Q2. Another one is engagement rate, 50% engagement rate by Q2. Another one is time spent on platform. Maybe before it was 3 minutes, now you want to say you want to get to 5 minutes by the end of Q2. So those are specific KPIs that speaks exactly to increasing user engagement. Let's say the goal, another goal, we are off the top of our head. I want us to quickly do this together. Another goal is fostering knowledge sharing. So that's the goal. So let's say the goal is fostering knowledge sharing. What would the KPIs be? So I want us to do it together in the chat box. Let me know what the KPIs would be if you wanted to foster knowledge sharing in your community, if that's the goal. Let's do this. If we're not get up to 3, we're not going to continue.
You can type in the chat or just unmute yourself and contribute.
Yeah. So if the goal of the community or the objective of the community is to foster knowledge sharing, what would the KPI be? How would you measure it?
Steven says article or topic shared or discussed.
That's good. But if you now want to make it measurable, instead of article, it's going to be number of articles shared or number of topics discussed. That's great. What else? Well-informed community member. That's actually good. So you want to be able to measure the knowledge exactly, like if they're actually, getting that knowledge. So that's actually really good. So that would be like post-program survey. So maybe that could be measured by tests or test-based quarterly surveys, for instance. That's actually good. How community members contribute or answer questions being asked in the community? Absolutely, yes. So response time or response rate as well. So how many responses or how fast are people responding to questions on the group? So that's very, very good. Well done. I mean, this was nice. A round of applause for yourselves. Okay. It should be A, B, C, D, E, supposed to be D. Next step is to regularly track and analyze. So this is where tools and tools comes in. So either you have analytics tools or you have dashboards or you're actually manually tracking it, which is like very, very, very difficult. Trust me, manually tracking is difficult, but sometimes it's important. And then finally, you iterate and adapt. So based on the insight and feedback, you want to iterate and refine these KPIs over time. Sometimes, if you say you want to increase user engagement, sometimes engagement rate itself might not be important anymore, right? Might not be relevant anymore. So always iterate and adapt. Then other examples of KPIs, user retention rates, conversion rates, response time. There's so many KPIs out there. Just Google it and ensure that they align with your community. So this quote is saying that the goal is to turn data into information and information into insights. I know that growing up, we've always learned that it's good to turn data into information, or there's a computer that turns data into information. But information can be anything. You have to turn information into insights. You have to, and insights is being able to clearly state and share what exactly the information means and what that means to your stakeholders, what that means to your community and the goals. So, all right, I think this is the final part. let me see. Yeah, this is the final part before part 2. This is the final part for today because again, I don't want it to be too long and boring because data they boring. No. All right. So data collection and tracking. Like I said, we're going to be talking a little bit about the tools. Selecting relevant data points. It's important for you to pick KPIs that actually are relevant to your community. They align with your community goals. So, for instance, if the goal is to increase user engagement, so we've already talked about this. Relevant data points may include active members, time spent, or number of contribution. Then contextual relevance. This is the one that's very, very important to me. So what this means is that you want to consider the context of your community. And this is an example. An e-commerce community may focus on metrics related to conversion rates, which makes sense for an e-commerce community. Conversion rates will make sense to them. Customer satisfaction, 100%, or repeat purchases. Very, very relatable to an e-commerce community. But for a knowledge sharing community, they will prioritize metrics like user generated content or user ratings or knowledge contribution levels. So if you're running an e-commerce community and you're now tracking user generated contents, like it's not aligning, sure you get. So you have to ensure that context is there, and then the type of KPIs that you're tracking is actually meaningful to that specific context. Then we're almost done actually. Then for tools and methods, so I know somebody was asking about tools. So this is a little bit around tools and methods. One is the analytics platform. So things like Google Analytics, which helps you to measure user behavior, traffic, engagement pattern on your websites, right? For people that use websites or community platform that are hosted on online or on websites, you can use Google Analytics, and they help you to track all these things. They also help you to track platform usage, conversion rates, user demographics. These are data that will help you. For instance, at i4G, we track our website's traffic, right? We track countries that people are visiting our websites from. Right now, I know we have high traffic from Nigeria, USA, UK, and Ghana, and some other African countries as well. Same thing, social media as well. So if your community is leveraging social media, or you have a social media presence, you want to work with the social media team, or if you are the one as community managers. I know it has been a lot, very, very difficult these days for companies to separate community managers and social media managers, but that's another fight for another day. But again, it's still important as community managers. It's still important for us to know if our social media presence is actually attracting the type of communities that we want. Audience reach, engagement, demographics, all these things related to social media channels. Then customize analytics solutions. So this is where you probably develop in-house tools or in-house analytics solution, or you use third-party providers. So I know these days we have platforms like Orbit, we have platforms like even Slack. Slack has its own analysis as well. Then even Telegram has its own analysis. If you're using Telegram for your community in terms of the platform itself. Again, what's this other platform that has forgotten? But yeah, all these platforms, they have their in-house, or you connect them to third-party providers. So just make sure you Google, make sure you try to see. But in terms of if you're coming from the African context, to be honest, sometimes you don't need all these third-party providers in terms of analytics. Sometimes your Telegram analysis, or your Slack analysis, or your Discord analysis is enough for you to create or give the type of data that's required. Then surveys and feedback. We've talked about surveys a lot. How often do you want to do these surveys? How do you want to get feedback from your people. The surveys are the best ways to collect qualitative data. You know, since last year or 2 years ago, we've started to do quarterly surveys. We always do post-program surveys. So, you know, surveys after events, surveys after key initiatives for your community, just to ensure that you are able to measure the effectiveness. And then finally, user activity logs. So this is where within the community platform as well, you are able to track user engagement, you're able to track interactions, you're able to track patterns. It was just this year that we started tracking our Telegram activity, and it has given us a lot of insights. We now know how many people join and leave the group, which we don't used to know before. We just know how many general people are there, but that helps us to know. Know which week or which program is actually making people to join at every point in time. So people join and leave, but it's the number of people that join is more than the number of people that leave, you know, which is like very beautiful insights. We also know how when people are most engaged, which is just one particular day, which makes sense because we only open our groups on that particular day. So, you know, all about this data is just to help you to, again, understand patterns, understand preferences, and then MPS, community health, all those things that we've talked about earlier. And that's about it. To find signals in data, we must learn to reduce the noise. Not every data is important. Not everything that needs to be counted counts. I mean, not everything that can be counted counts, and not everything that cannot be counted all join. But you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Data is important. But yeah,
so much.
that's
And
it.
This was insightful. I guess that you all would agree with me that this has been an insightful discussion. Please, let's do well. We have 5 more minutes on this call. Please, let's do well to like ask our questions right now because, you know, Agba CM, award-winning CM, where do you want to see again to ask questions? Come and ask your question now. So please, in 5 minutes, do well to like drop your questions on the chat, unmute yourself, ask your questions so that we can call it a day. Okay, so there are some questions here. Okay, Toby raised a hand. Toby, you can go ahead and ask your question.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, Anifa, for that. That's a beautiful presentation there. It was very insightful. So just from your own experience, which do you, should I say, I won't say prefer, but which has the higher stake? Is it qualitative or quantitative for you? So would you think community managers should pay attention more? Is it the numbers or more of the quantitative rather the qualitative? Which do you pay attention more to, or which is a much more important? And second question is that, do you have something like a template or something you use to make some of these reports? I know once you're able to accumulate all this, you need to aggregate it to a reporting format. So I don't know if you have a template in that regard. So those are just my own 2 questions. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much for that question, Toby. For that first one, I would say both of them are important. There's no one that is more important than the other, to be honest. And this is because if you want to report to people, let's say for instance you are running a non-profit community, the people that are giving you money, people that are sponsoring your community and reporting to them, they want to know both of them. They want to know how many people are in your community. The higher the number, the higher, the higher the number, the higher they will love you more. At the same time, they also want to know the feedback that your community are getting, how engaged are your community. And that's why when we are reporting to our board member, for instance, we are like, oh, we've grown so much. But at the same time, our community is so engaged. You get that kind of things. So both are important. Or should I say, my perfect answer would be hybrid. I mean, hybrid will ensure that you're collecting both data, you're reporting both data. And then a sample report I've submitted, I'm putting into the chat box here, our 2022 impact report at excuse me, Martin Gracie for Good. But this, you will see both for programs and community, for everything that we do at I4G generally. But that's a sample of what a report should sometimes look like. Being able to also, I would like to also put into perspective designing it, because again, you want to tell a story. Data is data, but you want to be able to tell a story and say that how many people, or being able to visualize it, or being able to turn it into insights, basically. I hope that answers the question, Toby.
Yes, thank you very much for that. Sorry, just one last one. If I have an higher number but a low engagement, how do I remediate that? Or what, based on your own experience, I have a high number but the qualitativeness is low. Is there a remedy to that?
Strategy, Neo.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So again, yeah. Again, so going back to square one, right? What are your community goals? What are your community objectives? Why did you build the community? Align that first. Who are your community members? Sometimes it might be that your community members have outgrown your community. For instance, at I4G Circle, this is a problem that we are currently facing, where our I4G Circle is a student community, right? Students first community. And people are already graduating, of course. People are already turning into Agba Friyoyo. And it doesn't make sense anymore that they're a part of that I4G Circle anymore. So how do we now fizzle them out? So engagement is starting to decrease. So you start to either run a survey where you tell people that they can grow into the next phase of the community. They should join I4G network, and students alone should stay in the community. That would reduce the number, of course, but at the same time, you double your efforts in awareness, in getting more people to join the community, and then ensure that you're actually targeting the people itself. That's on the community member side. Then on the programs that you're doing itself, are you ensuring that those programs that you're doing actually fits those community members? So again, run a survey, get feedback, ask what's going on, and then use that to just iterate. Always solve one first, do tactic one first. If you've done that, do tactic two again. If you've done that, just keep trying, keep iterating. Community is very, very precious.
All right, Hanifa. I know that you just want to give us a piece of your brain tonight.
Well,
but we are past time, and we have one question in the chat. I don't know that you can quickly take this one, and that will be all for today. But before you take this last question, please, guys, I know that Hanifa has done such a good job tonight. She has given people Rema and value. Please go online on Twitter now and just tweet about all you've learned from this session using the hashtag CLA Summit 2023. So I'm dropping the hashtag right here. Please go on Twitter, tweet about everything that has been discussed today, so that we know that you actually got something or got value from today's session. So please tweet on Twitter. Make a tweet right now before we take the last question. Thank you. Okay, Hanifa, you can proceed to maybe wrap up the last question so that we could call it a day.
All right. So I'm guessing this question is from Just Deal Nigeria. Okay. Just Deal is a C2C marketplace to buy and sell new and second-hand items online, and we are looking forward to building a community of sellers. How best can we go about that? C2C, that's customer to customer. B. Just Deal, if you can come online and quickly answer, so I'm able to understand exactly. Yeah, that's customer to customer. B. So it's like, okay, second-hand item. So people that okay, that makes sense. So people like, say for instance, me, I want to sell my clothes. I want to come onto that platform so that other people can come and buy that clothes. Okay, and we're looking forward to building a community of sellers. How best can we go about that? How come you guys asking strategy questions? How do I answer this? I guess my again, do all the things that requires you to build in a community, everything around how to build a community, yada yada yada. Follow the steps, right? Do the research. But my key advice would be that you should target, look for um look for people that are already doing this. I know on Instagram, and I know I've seen a lot of people that come and sell second-hand items. So use all those people as your pilot phase. Get them into your arsenal, like get them into your be be very close to them, essentially. Do surveys with them, ask them questions, then yeah, just communities that already has a little bit of what's going on, a little bit of where they're looking for, a little bit of where they're looking for how to sell their clothes and how to sell their second hand items and stuff. So yeah, just again, there's a a billable question, Jimmy, but there's like a lot of things that goes into building a community. Just follow those steps, and I'm sure you figure it out. So yeah.
Right. Thank you so much, Hanifa. Thank you so much for the value that you've dropped here. There's just so much value in this room. If we continue from now to the next 2 hours, Hanifa still has like a lot to share with us. Probably you should write a book. I don't know that you've written it already, but you should write a book. Community management, so that
Courses are coming soon.
Yeah, that would make so much sense. So thank you so much, Hanifa, for like sharing your amazing tips with us. We got so much value. It was really insightful. Like I said, go online on Twitter now and tweet about today's session. Use the hashtag CLA Summit, tag Community Leads for Africa, tag Hanifa, and just thank the organizers for putting together this amazing program. All right, I would be handing the mic over to Jamie. You want to say something before we like go?
Yeah, I do. So, hi, Anifa. Thank you very much for your part. I really do enjoyed all the different slides you shared. Man, you are amazing. That's why they call you the Anifa of community. So, thank you very much for your part. I enjoyed it. Thank you, Precious, for hosting. This was amazing. And I want to thank everyone for taking out their time to join this. And yeah, it's really cool to have everyone here. So a little additional heads up I want to give is that next week, by Thursday next weekend, if you are in Lagos, we are hosting a community managers hangout. So it's usually for community managers to come chill together and let's have some fun over a meal and talk about, community. So you see this part that you're stressing Anifa like this. If Anifa is eating on the table, she'll be able to give you sweet answer. So you're all invited to come join us. Let's hang out. And if you're in Lagos, come vibe with us and let's have some fun. So I'll share the link to RSVP for the event that is happening on Thursday. So the details, if you follow through the link, the details and everything are there. So that's the little addition I want to add. Thank you all very much for your part for this.
Our boss has spoken. He's our guy in this place. Thank you so much, Jamie, for wrapping it up for us. When Uyo people calm down, we are coming to your city. So calm down. We'll definitely get to you. So if you're not in Lagos, don't worry, we'll make it down to your city. But for now, please do us the honors of like tweeting about today's summit on Twitter. Please make sure you tweet. It's important that you tweet so that people can know, other community managers can find your tweet, gather inspiration, and even decide to start their journey. Again, thank you all for joining. Thank you all for listening to all Hanifa had to say. Thank you so much, Hanifa, for all the insights, all the quotes, all the tools that you shared with us. This was a very lovely session. And again, roll call. Thank you so much, Ayodele. That's Ayo. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Daniel again. Thank you, Elisa from Uyo. Thank you, Faith, Fatima, Fatimo, Franklin, Godfrey, Imam Bashir, Just Deal Nigeria, Kosiso, Chuku, Sandra, Mani, Precious, OJ Wisdom, Steven, Timothy, Toby, Tolani, Trust, Uche, Mustafa, Waliat Raifu, and Kusi. Thank you so much for joining today's session. We hope to see you guys again. next week, if you're in Lagos, do well to like come hang out with us, come chill with us. You definitely see me in person, you see Hanifa in person. We had something like this last year and it was super amazing. So we are hoping to repeat same thing next week. And we'll be having so much fun and hugging each other because we've not seen ourselves in 1 year. And taking a lot of goofy pictures. So don't be left out because we'll pepper you on Twitter. I'm giving you heads up now. So yeah, do well to like show up next week, Thursday. And yeah, when next we have the next summit. Thank you all and have a lovely, lovely evening. It's TGIF. So do well to like take care of yourself, take a moment out of work, party hard, eat good food, visit the beach and just be amazing. Bye everyone. And I remain your host, Izima Precious, signing out. Bye.